In order to protect their position in the points, NASCAR drivers have to survive the restrictor-plate tracks with minimal damage. The same is true for fantasy players. Avoiding the big one crash is not easy. If a driver runs long enough, they are going to sustain damage. Fantasy players cannot realistically expect all of their drivers to get to the end of the race without damage, but there is still a strategy that can be employed. Marquee drivers are just as likely to have problems in the Geico 500 at Talladega Superspeedway, but when they do, the majority of players will be equally impacted. That puts a premium on selecting the perfect dark horse. Luckily, there are quite a lot of drivers deep in the points with great records on this wildcard track. Track your progress in the NASCAR America Fantasy League at NASCAR.com/NBCSportsFantasy, and then share your results on Twitter using 1. Ty Dillon, 3-year average, 10.00 in 3 races. Dillon did not earn Cup points in the 2016 Geico 500, but he finished 6th in relief of Tony Stewart. Last year, he swept the top 15 at Talladega, and that makes him a very attractive dark horse. 2. Kurt Busch, 10.83. Streaks on restrictor-plate superspeedways are incredibly difficult to create and maintain. Busch entered last fall's Alabama 500 with a 6-race streak of top 12 finishes until he was sidelined by an accident on lap 171. 3. Paul Menard, 11.50. The saving grace of Talladega is that fantasy players get a chance to start drivers they might not otherwise. Menard has 5 results of 13th or better in his last 6 races on this 2.66-mile behemoth. 4. Brad Keselowski, 12.17. Team Penske has combined for 5 wins in the last 7 Talladega races. Keselowski has earned 3 of these. His most recent came last fall in the Alabama 500. 5. Eric Almirola, 12.50. Almirola is the only driver entered this week with a 3-race, top 10 streak at Talladega. Last year, he was the only one to sweep the top 5. 6. Ricky Stenhouse Jr., 13.83. Stenhouse is the defending winner of the Geico 500. He posted another victory at Daytona in July 2017, so he knows how to stay out of trouble on the plate tracks. 7. Greg Galding, 14.50. In 2 races, winning in fantasy racing on the wildcard restrictor-plate superspeedways often means guessing which driver will survive the carnage. Last fall at Talladega, Galding was involved in 2 accidents but managed to finish 9th. 8. Kyle Busch, 14.60. In 5 races, Busch has compared winning a 4th consecutive race at Talladega to winning the lottery. He won the 2008 Aaron's 499 and finished 2nd and 3rd in 2 of the last 5 races there. 9. Kevin Harvick, 14.67. Harvick's 3-year Talladega average from 2013 through 2016 was a stellar 10.4, but his numbers suffered last year on the heels of 2 20-something results. 9. Ryan Newman, 14.67. Newman's 2nd-place finish to Keselowski last fall at Talladega was his 5th top 15 in the last 7 races on this track. Slow and steady helps win the fantasy race. Bonus picks pole winner. Winning a pole at Talladega has been as unpredictable as winning the race, and it's impossible to predict before the teams hit the track. Keep an eye on Team Penske, but wait until first practice is complete to make this selection. Segment winners. While his 3-year average is not among the top 10, Logano has a ton of speed during the middle stages of the restrictor-plate superspeedway races. Pick him as the winner for both segments and hope that he doesn't crash early. For more fantasy NASCAR coverage, check out rotoworld.com and follow Dan Beaver at Fantasy Race on Twitter. Practice 1. Cole Custer posted the fastest single lap in the first practice session for the Sparks Energy 300 with a speed of 194.125 miles per hour. Custer beat Spencer Gallagher, 193.980 miles per hour, by 0.037 seconds. Ryan Truex, 193.952, Brandon Jones, 193.948, and Elliott Sadler, 193.322, rounded out the top 5. Sadler is one of the Dash 4 cash contenders this week. The other 3 contenders all recorded top 12 laps. Matt Tifft, 192.533, had the 8th fastest time. Christopher Bell, 192.393, was 10th, and Austin Cindric, 192.197, 12th. Jones had the quickest 10-lap average of 191.887 miles per hour, with Bell 191.416 second. Click here for complete results. Talladega, Ala. Trevor Bayne said Friday that his health is not an issue but offered little else in a brief statement, his first public comment since the news that Matt Kenseth will take over some of the races in Bayne's No. 6-4 this season. "First of all, my health is 100%, Bayne said, standing at the back of the team's hauler in the Talladega Superspeedway garage. "I am as fit physically, mentally and spiritually as I've ever been to do my job well. The second part is that my desire is still as it has always been since I was 5 years old, to come to the racetrack every week and contend for wins and championships and be a driver at the top level in the Cup Series. Nothing in that has changed. I'm still going to pursue that because I feel that I have the ability to do that. But right now I don't have much more to add to that. I want to respect all yours time. I know you have a ton of questions after everything that has happened this week, but if you guys can allow me to come into the garage and talk to my team and work through this weekend, I'd love to have that opportunity. I'm coming here to win Talladega as I had planned to do before any of this. That's what I'm going to do." Bayne spoke less than 90 seconds. More, NASCAR on America Debrief Podcast. Trevor Bayne needs to rebuild reputation as driver. More, long, can Matt Kenseth return Roush Fenway to its glory days? Roush Fenway Racing announced Wednesday that Kenseth's first race in Bayne's car would be May 12 at Kansas Speedway and that Kenseth will drive in the All-Star race the following week. The rest of Kenseth's schedule has not been announced. Teammate Ricky Stenhouse Jr. said Friday that he talked to Bayne this week and offered some advice. Stenhouse can relate in a way. He was pulled from his ride in what is now the Xfinity Series for 2 races after several crashes during in the 2010 season. He came back and drove in all but one of the remaining races that year. "I told him just to keep his head down and go out and keep running races, prove to everybody that you've got what it takes and don't really listen to anything, whether it be fans, media or what other teams say," Stenhouse said. "Just do your deal." While Roush Fenway Racing has struggled this season, Bayne's performance has trailed that of Stenhouse. Bayne has run in the top 15 in 10.5% of the laps run this season. Stenhouse is at 39.9%. Bayne's average finish is 23.9, compared to 19.5 last year, and he ranks 25th in the series in average running position, 23.0. Really, when we look at last year, Bayne's team and Stenhouse's team were fairly close in overall performance. The 17 of Stenhouse was certainly better and certainly that split got greater this year and that's just not the direction we are wanting to continue down, Tommy Wheeler, operations director for Roush Fenway Racing, told NBC Sports this week. Follow at Dustin Long and on Facebook. Talladega, LA, NASCAR announced Friday that it is acquiring the ACA Series. Few details were announced Friday at Talladega Superspeedway. The ACA Racing Series will continue to operate under its current structure through the 2019 season. This year's schedule of 20 races includes 9 events at NASCAR National Series venues, and 3 others at NASCAR Whelen All-American Series tracks. "Our business is racing and that's what we are investing in," said Jim France, vice chairman and executive vice president of NASCAR. Asked if the ACA Series would replace the K. "We've got some thoughts at this point," that Ron said. "The cars line up well and there's some crossover with teams. It's a work in progress right now. We've just formalized the first step of it and we'll be developing the plans." Follow at Dustin Long and on Facebook. Talladega, LA. 12 cars, including those of Jimmy Johnson, Martin Truex Jr. and Kurt Busch, will be docked 15 minutes of practice in Friday's opening session for inspection issues. The opening session is from 12:35 to 1:25 p.m. ET. The cars of Johnson, Michael McDowell and Gray Gaulding will miss 15 minutes for failing inspection twice last weekend at Richmond. The cars of Trevor Bayne, Ty Dillon and Eric Jones will miss 15 minutes for failing pre-qualifying inspection twice at Richmond. The cars of Truex and Busch will miss 15 minutes of practice for being late to inspection before the race at Richmond. The cars of David Reagan, Daniel Suarez, Ross Chastain and Timmy Hill will miss 15 minutes because they were late to qualifying inspection last week at Richmond. 11 cars will be held 15 minutes in the opening practice Friday in the Xfinity Series. Cars penalized for being late to inspection at Richmond are those of Tyler Reddick, Joe Nemechek, Noah Gragson, Spencer Gallagher, J.J. Yeley, Chad Finchem, John Hunter Nemechek, Jeremy Clements and Chase Briscoe. Cars being penalized for failing inspection twice at Richmond are those of Ryan Truex and Cas Gralla. Clements also will be penalized 15 minutes in the final practice session for failing inspection twice at Richmond. Opening Xfinity practices from 11:35 a.m. to 12:25 p.m. Eastern Time. Final Xfinity practices from 1:35 to 2:25 p.m. Follow at Dustin Long and on Facebook.